So what we're gonna show you now is a combined series of stretches for the leg and the lower back, and then to strengthen the whole pelvis and the core. There's several different maneuvers involved here, but one follows another. This whole exercise takes about 8 minutes to do, but if you are having a lower back or a leg problem, it's probably one of the most effective ways to help stretch, strengthen, and get some relief in what's going on down here. Also, it's going to help balance the musculature, and it's going to help us release a lot of tension that gets held up in the leg sockets and in the lower back and pelvis as we're having problems. So we need the rope. The first thing we're going to do is lay on our back. We want our hips very even and flat. Your backbone needs to be flat against the ground. You're going to take the rope around 1 foot. You're going to keep the other leg straight. You're going to grab this rope, bend this knee. You're going to hold onto the rope, straighten your leg out. I want you to keep your hands below the kneecap with this rope. I want you to get this leg straight, so wherever that happens to be in your flexibility range, I want that knee locked out completely. What we're going to do with this is think the energy, this rope pull is pulling this energy into the hip here. So the first position we're going to do is a neutral leg position, holding from here, and as you pull that leg down into the socket, you're then going to pull it up towards your head. So we're stretching the hamstring just for a few seconds. Let that off until it quits pulling. So then pull again, down, and then let that go. We're going to do this 8 times, okay, in this position. So what's happening here is Lori is pulling up and we're pulling down with that because we're sinking this leg socket in here. We want to affect where the leg inserts into the pelvis here, okay? So we have 2 more, right? All right, so we're going to do a neutral, and then when we relax here, now we're going to turn our foot towards the opposite shoulder. And same thing, we're just going to cross barely over midline, okay? This is to really stretch the other head of the hamstring, okay? So we get that hamstring really going. So again, we are coming across that midline, and I'm helping her. I'm pulling it down, so we're pulling that into the socket. How's that feel?
Feels good.
Good, good. All right, so we have 2 more. 1 and 2. Okay, then the next part, turning that foot out, and we're going to do the same thing, but just across that lateral, just a little bit. This is really going to affect our piriformis group, part of our glutes as we go in here. Remember, breathe. Remember to keep the pelvis really flat. Remember, we're isolating like she is. She's using just that leg. She's isolating just that leg. This is flat. Look at her flex those muscles. She's pulling that down, so that leg's going into the socket. All right, is that 8? And then what we're going to do is come back to neutral, and then using the hands on the rope, we're going to do some circles. So we're going to go clockwise circles. Good size. You want to have about a 10-inch diameter range in this as you go around. This is going to really affect the way all of the ligaments that hold that leg into that hip work. Okay, and we're going to do 8 of these guys. And then we're going to go counterclockwise, opposite direction. Okay, and then the really fun part about this stretch is that we have another leg to do. So we're really going to get this going. We're going to let that leg relax. Bend the leg first. Release the rope. Let that leg relax. Other foot. Bend the knee first. Straighten the leg. Hands below the kneecap on the rope. Pulling the rope in while that hamstring is taut, and pull up. And you just hold for a couple seconds and take that slack off. And pull up again. Take that slack off. Make sure that knee is locked and engaged all the way, because that's going to change how far you can actually go. We really want to get this hamstring. We really want to take that energy with this rope down into the hip socket so that we're able to stretch all those small muscles. These muscles and actually the ligaments around there are what feed the brain all the information about how tight this area is supposed to be. So what we're doing is we're effectively turning our foot, and we're going to really stretch and open these things up, taking all the tension off them so that your body is really able to heal. It's able to relax. It's able to let the joints move freely. Now, if you have, you know that you have any type of degeneration in your hip, or you might be needing a hip replacement or something like that in the future, I would not recommend that you do this stretch. This may not be something good. It could really cause an aggravation, because what we're doing is we're taking that leg bone and we're putting it right into that socket. So if you have some degeneration in there, this is not something that you would want to do. I would really, for relief on that, temporarily until something permanently is done, work more with massage therapy and light stretching. So now, counterclockwise and clockwise, so whichever you want. Good, about a 10-inch diameter on that circle. Using the rope, remember when you're doing this, you're not leading with the leg. You're using your hands in the rope to move the leg around. And again, she's doing really well, keeping that pelvis very, very flat, keeping the backbone against the floor as she's doing this. Other leg remains completely straight and flat on the floor. Always head stays down as well. We don't lift our head while we're doing any of these exercises. We want our whole spine flat on the mat. I do recommend everybody gets a good exercise mat. They're not really very expensive, about $45 or $50. They'll last for years. It's one of those pieces of equipment that is just worthwhile having in your home. So once she's done, she's relaxed, we're gonna bend that knee, we're gonna take that rope off. Then what we're gonna do to balance all this out is bring both knees up, hands on the shins, bringing the body up here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the knees to the chest and roll the tailbone up till the lumbar spine comes off the ground, and let that down. And this is a pretty quick exercise. It's just pull to extreme and down. We're just pulling the tailbone up and the lumbar spine up and down. We're gonna do this 5 times. And then what we're gonna do is hopefully get some good release in that pelvis. Once these feet are relaxed here, I want you to keep the legs up like this. We're gonna do initially the right side. So we're gonna put the right arm out, turn the head to the right, hand on the legs, and pull that body over, making that stress here in the lumbar spine through this region. A good 3 breaths in this position, and then bring yourself back up. And that left arm's gonna go out, hand on the knees. We're gonna rotate that out, trying to keep the shoulders on so that stress comes in through this region here. Good rotation and breaths. And then we're gonna come back to a neutral position. I'm gonna recommend you, if you don't have some type of Pilates ball or something, you can pick these up, $2.99 at Safeway. We're gonna keep our feet balanced, about shoulder width apart for whatever your size is. We're gonna take that ball, we're gonna put it between the upper portion of the thighs. We're gonna squeeze this together using your adductors, these muscles. And then what we're gonna do, keeping the head flat, tailbone, we're gonna roll the tailbone up and 1 vertebra at a time to a bridge point right there. Shoulder blades should still be touching the ground, squeezing in with your obliques, squeezing in with your glutes and your inner adductor muscles. And you're gonna hold that to count of 8, and then you're gonna roll down 1 vertebra at a time, all the way down. So come on down, 1 vertebra, curling your body down, and then curling your tailbone and curling your spine up. We don't want that lumbar spine that's far enough right there. Now contract everything in that position. Good. All right, and we're gonna hold that for the count of 8. And we're gonna roll 1 vertebra at a time down, all the way through the tailbone, taking the energy out that way. Okay, and we're gonna curl back up. I refer to this as 8/8 because you should do it 8 times. Hold, contract, 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 8 times, okay? This is the best way when you have done all of the leg exercises with the rope, lateral movement to get some release, and then what we're gonna do is this is pure core strengthening that you're doing here. So quad contraction, roll that tailbone up, there you go. Relax, I mean not relax, listen to me. Contract, squeeze in with the obliques, use the adductors. Quads, of course, are gonna be active when we're bringing ourselves up. But then when we come down, we get to the point right when our tailbone relaxes, let your quads relax a little, but keep your adductors squeezing that ball together. So now we're gonna take that tailbone up and bring that spine up all the way and hold that right there, perfect. See how she's not arched up too high. We're just bringing the body off the ground up to the shoulder blades, not onto the shoulders. And down. All right. Thank you, Lori. This is the good way to get that whole lower back strong. I recommend you do this daily until you feel like you have a really strong lower back and you're not having any lower back pain. Of course, while you're doing this, I'm also going to recommend you're probably getting some adjustments in the meantime. We want to make sure that all of the vertebra and that the sacrum, all the ribs and everything is moving correctly as you're doing this, because we're making strength in your body. We want to strengthen it, but we don't want to strengthen a deformity or a joint that's not moving correctly. That's why we'll want to get you adjusted prior to starting this type of exercise.